Hello and welcome to Tuner Tuesday, and look, today we have something that's not Japanese. I know the Scion is technically an American manufacturer, but it's basically a Toyota GT86 with different badges, so I'm counting that as Japanese. So here we have a Chevrolet Camaro. This is the 35th anniversary one, and to be honest, I didn't even realise this car was in the game until the guy sent it to me. This one has been made by Deadly Shark 3. It has 329 horsepower, which makes it the most powerful car we've ever had for this little competition. It does weigh 3,200 pounds, which makes it the heaviest car we've ever had as well. So I guess that kind of evens itself out. I have to say I do quite like the paint job. It kind of reminds me of sort of like a NASCAR-y sort of theme going on. I don't quite know why, I guess. Maybe that's what he's aiming for. I don't know. But yeah, it should be interesting. It sounds like slightly different around our track. Now, this car isn't actually that bad to drive. I did a few laps with it before handing it over to the Stig. It's not terrible to drive. I mean, it is big, it is heavy, and you do notice the sort of weight. The brakes aren't too bad though, and in general, the turn in the steering is pretty good. It is quite powerful. Well, it is powerful for what we've been doing. So it will go sideways. The Stig is going to now sort of show off around here with a very long drift all the way around that the long right-hander. It will go sideways if you really push it, but it's not horrendous. It's not the sort of thing or not what I was expecting. I was expecting this car to be much more difficult to drive than it was, but it really was fairly easy to drive. Straight line speed isn't too bad. It's about 122. It's not quite as fast as the Honda we had last week, but it is still a pretty quick car. And then onto the flying lap. It's quite an early break down here. The car is very big, it is very heavy, so it takes a bit more time to stop than some of the other cars we have had, but Stig gets it stopped nicely and turned into the first corner. And we're coming down the bomb hole section of the track. Now, Stig did have to let off. This is the first car that has had to let off down here. All the other cars have been flat out around this bit. He did have to let off a tiny bit. There wasn't any brake. We had to let off just to make sure he didn't go skating into the gravel. Around this corner, which is 3 or 4, or if anyone can think of a good name for that corner, please do let me know in the comments or something, because I don't know. Useless with naming. And then it's around the long quadruple apex right-hander. Camaro's looking pretty good through here, actually. It's not going sideways. It's not understeering either, which is always good. And then it's up to the last corner. The back end's just starting to escape from him there, as you can see. Making it a little bit difficult to get it turned in around there. And it is just a run to the line. And as I said, it is pretty good in a straight line. It's not the best car we've ever had, but it's also not the slowest by any means. And there we go. He's going to come across the line, and there it is. The Camaro has got its lap time. Now, the second car we have for you today, and yes, this is another non-Japanese car. We have an Alfa 155. I am sorry to the guy who made this, Petrolhead 32. I never got a chance to drive this car. That's why we see it parked here. I just got Stig to download it from your storefront. I just didn't have the time. About the car, it has 211 horsepower, which isn't a particularly large amount. It also weighs 2,340 pounds or something like that, which means it's quite a lightweight car, especially considering its size. It does look pretty big. Has a DTM body kit on it, which is awesome. I love that body kit. Stig decided he's going to go. Anyway, it is rear-wheel drive converted, which surprised me. I was expecting this to be a four-wheel drive car. It also has, I think, a turbo on it. I'm not sure. There is some sort of forced induction on it, because if you look at the telemetry over it, shows there's a boost pressure. To drive, Stig was pretty happy with this car. He liked this car. He did say there is some understeer. It's not sort of chronic understeer. It's not terrible, but there is a little bit of understeer. Understeer is easier to manage than oversteer, and I believe it is slightly quicker as well. So if you're setting up a car, it's better to have it understeering a little bit than it is to have it oversteering a bit. But yeah, in general, this car was pretty good. From what I saw of it, it looked pretty stable. Lap times weren't the most consistent we've seen actually from the Alfa. It was a little bit erratic with this car. I guess it was quite hard to get a good lap out of it. But yeah, onto the flying lap, and up to the first corner, very heavy on the brakes. You can see the brake disc glowing bright red in this car. I think it's the first one we've seen it do, at least have the discs get quite that hot. Then through the bomb hole section, of course, this car is going to be flat out. There is an awful lot of aero. It is a little bit underpowered. It's a bit like the MR2 we had. It does feel a little bit sluggish. In a straight line, this is not very good, and it's also not particularly good up that hill. But up the top of the hill now, And again, it's getting turned in quite nicely through here. There's a little bit understeer, sort of going a little bit off on the curve through there, but nothing terrible again. Up around the long right-hander, he gets turned in quite nicely. You can see again, it's a little bit understeery there. He sort of slightly missed the apex through there, but still, it's all looking very, very controlled, and it's looking very nice. Through the last corner now, is there going to be any oversteer? No, there's not. It's just going to run towards the grass, and instead it's going to bring it back towards the inside of the corner, and then it's just a run to the line. Straight line speed isn't fantastic with this car. It's about 118. It's not quite as slow as the MR2 that we had last week, but yeah, it's not a fantastic car in a straight line. Probably to do with the huge amounts of aero and not that much power. And there we go. Now it is for the all-important lap times. The Alfa did a 58.981, which puts it up into 4th. Not that bad, actually, for that car. It wasn't the fastest car straight line speed, and it did struggle a little bit around some of the corners, but it's a pretty good time from the Alfa. The Camaro did a 59.502, which I'm not particularly surprised by. As much as I like American muscle cars, it was a bit sort of heavy, I guess, for this sort of track that we're driving around. And yeah, that is it for this episode, guys. Next week, it is back to the Japanese cars. I think that's all the non-Japanese cars I have now. It's back to, we have a Honda S2000, and I think we have a Honda Integra as well. I can't avoid doing Hondas because we've got so many of them. But yeah, if you have a car you want to send or see on this challenge, you can either send it to me with my game tag, you'll find it around, or you can put it on your storefront and send me a message, and then I'll tell the Stig to download it, and I will download it as well if I have time. But that is it for this episode, guys, so thank you very much for watching, and until next time, goodbye.